What? Another prediction review video? Well, yes, that is right. This year I'm going to be doing 2 prediction review videos. And this one is for my other 2 friends, Dave the Railfan and Kettle Run Railfan. I'm really just doing this as a favor to them because I want to put in a good word for both of their channels. So let's go right into what their predictions were. And I'm going to be starting with the predictions that were made by Dave. So Dave's first prediction was in regards to the NASCAR Cup Series Rookie of the Year. And there were 3 drivers who could have won that award. Austin Cindric, Harrison Burton, and Todd Gilliland. And out of all of them, I think it's pretty obvious who the Rookie of the Year was going to be.
For he's a jolly good rookie, but he's a jolly good rookie, but he's a jolly good rookie.
Yeah, I think that pretty much goes without contention. However, I will say this in regards to Burton and Gilliland. They both managed to finish in the top 5 at Indianapolis along with Cindric, and that was the first time in nearly, 20 years that 3 rookie drivers finished in the top 5 in a Cup Series race. Now, Dave's second prediction was in regards to Ty Gibbs and how he would perform in the Xfinity Series this year. And the prediction was largely that Gibbs would get a total of 5 wins. Well, it turns out that Gibbs ended up exceeding these expectations with a total of 7 wins. However, this didn't come without its own share of controversy when he got win number 6.
Getting ready for the start of this 250 laps from Martinsville to determine the championship 4. 3 wide as they come out of 2. Now, 3 wide isn't going to work through 3 and 4. Sheldon Creed shoving the 19. He's sideways, but he lurches out front. The white flag one more time around. Jones gets tagged by the 54. Whoa! Hold on. Jones around, caution comes out.
Oh, hell no!
Ty Gibbs sees the checkered yellow flags. And Ty Gibbs put the bumper to the back of the 19. That happened after. Yes, they drive for the same organization.
And then 1 week later, Gibbs would go on to win the championship. But then the unimaginable happened. It turns out that in the night after the Xfinity Series championship race, it was revealed that Ty Gibbs' father, Coy Gibbs, had passed away in the night after that race. He was 49 years old, which now means that Joe Gibbs has now lost both of his living sons, JD and Coy. It's probably one of the most unimaginable series of events that could ever happen, not just for Ty Gibbs, but for the whole JGR organization. It's one of the hardest things that I think any driver would ever have to go through, and I really think it's on par with what happened to Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 2001 after the loss of his father, Dale Earnhardt Sr. Now, Dave's third prediction was in regards to Hendrick Motorsports and how each driver would perform this year. And looking at their performance, at the bottom of the rank, we have Alex Bowman, who only got one win this year. And then, moving up, we have William Byron, who got 2 wins. But I still think that Byron is kind of the odd one out for HMS. But next up, we have Kyle Larson, who got 3 wins, but compared to his performance last year, it still feels like a massive downturn in performance for Larson. But next year, it probably could be better for him. And at the top of the rank, we have Chase Elliott, who got 5 wins, which is not just the most for HMS this year, but was the most out of any of the drivers in the Cup Series this year. The next prediction that Dave had was his more biased prediction, and it was in regards to 2311 Racing and how they would perform this year with Bubba Wallace and their newly acquired teammate of Kurt Busch. And to start off, things were still kind of going kind of roughly for the team, but then Kurt Busch went out and won in the first Kansas race, which was also the first race that had the Jordan brand as the sponsor. And then things were still going well for Kurt until they got to Pocono.
And look at his brother, Kurt Busch. Still as good as he's ever been behind the wheel of a race car.
Yep.
And you'd think that Kurt could go as...
Hang on to it, Kurt. Hard into the wall.
Unfortunately, Kurt Busch suffered a hard crash in qualifying for the Pocono race that left him with a major concussion that not only left him out of action for the entire rest of the regular season, but he ended up having to forego his spot in the playoffs, and thus, as a result, he then declared that he will not be returning to full-time competition next year.
As I continue to focus on my health towards being cleared, I'll be stepping away from full-time NASCAR Cup Series competition in 2023. My long-term health is priority number 1, and I don't feel committing at this point to compete for a championship next year is in my best interest or the best interest of the team.
And therefore, that meant that Bubba Wallace had to be brought in to drive the 45 car during the playoffs. And then Bubba Wallace went out and got his second career win in the second Kansas race. So if there's one thing that's interesting about this year, is that both 2311 racing drivers got 1 win each in the same car at the same track. But then, a few weeks later, things would go very wrong for Bubba Wallace.
Big battle off of turn 4 here.
And into the wall goes Bubba Wallace. And he comes back across the track, tags the 5. They're both in the wall, the caution comes out.
That's the 20 car, now Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell hard into the outside wall.
A playoff driver involved in this. That hard racing by the 5. And the 45 now has caught up the 20 of Christopher Bell.
This incident at Las Vegas was one of the worst things that could have happened to Bubba Wallace. It is a massive blow to his image and his efforts to try and show that he is a better person. But this actively worked against everything he was trying to establish for himself. And thus that meant that he had to be suspended for 1 race at Homestead, where John Hunter Nemechek ended up driving the 45 car. But overall, despite everything else that's gone on for 2311 Racing, I still think that this team is going to rally from this, and with the addition of Tyler Reddick in 2023, I think that this team can only go up from here. The next prediction that Dave had was actually in regards to my favorite team, RFK Racing, and how they would perform with Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher. And starting off with Keselowski, I have to be honest here, this was the worst season of Keselowski's career on record, where he only scored 1 top 5 and 6 top 10s. And considering that it's been over 11 years since the 6-car last won a cup race, this is not looking too good, but hope springs eternal for 2023. But, on the other hand, for Chris Buescher,
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about.
Oh my God! Yes! Yes! Wow! Oh my God!
I'm actually genuinely surprised that Chris Buescher managed to win at Bristol. In contrast to Keselowski, Buescher had the best season of his career with 3 top 5s and 10 top 10s along with that win. So yeah, things definitely are kind of all over the place for RFK Racing too, but even they will get better as time goes on, and this team will definitely be ones to watch in the coming years. The next prediction that Dave had was in regards to Stewart-Haas Racing, more specifically about Chase Briscoe, saying that Briscoe would be the only SHR driver that would make it into the Cup Series playoffs. And Briscoe started that off well by winning the first race at Phoenix, and for the majority of the regular season, it was looking like Briscoe would be the only driver from SHR to make it into the playoffs, until Kevin Harvick won at Michigan, and then won again at Richmond the following week. So that prediction did not go as well as expected. But I definitely think that next year, with the addition of Ryan Preece in the 41, there definitely is going to be a lot of improvements coming down the line for SHR. And now we move on to Dave's prediction about the first-time winners in all 3 series. And starting with the Cup Series, he had Daniel Suarez, who won at Sonoma, Chase Briscoe, who won at Phoenix, Austin Cindric, who won the Daytona 500, Tyler Reddick, who won 3 races, and last was Daniel Hemrick. Unfortunately, Daniel Hemrick did not win a race, but instead we had Ross Chastain, who got 2 wins. For the Xfinity Series, he had Sam Mayer, Ryan Sieg, Austin Hill, and Landon Castle. And out of all of them, only one of these drivers managed to win, and that was Austin Hill. And for trucks, he had Haley Deegan, Carson Hocevar, and Timmy Hill. Unfortunately, none of these drivers ended up winning, and instead we have Corey Heim, Ty Majeski, and once again, I can't believe I'm saying this, Matt DiBenedetto. And finally, we now have come to Dave's last prediction, and it was in regards to Kyle Larson. And it was basically saying that Larson would go on to win the 2022 Cup Series Championship back-to-back. And, well,
All day long, the 32-year-old Joey Logano, he's already built a Hall of Fame career. Today, he etches his name in stone as one of the few to capture multiple championships. Logano is a two-time NASCAR Cup Series champion.
unfortunately, that didn't happen because Larson was eliminated in the round of 12 at the Roval. It was not a good race for him. And the inevitable champion was Joey Logano. So yeah, that prediction really did not pan out in his favor. And with that wraps up the segment of Dave the Race Fan's predictions. And now we move on to the segment of predictions that were done by Kettle Run Railfan.
Hello everyone. This is really the first time I've done a set of NASCAR predictions in front of a microphone, so do cut me some slack here, but I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into my one Cup Series prediction for this season. And that is that I see Michael McDowell getting himself another win, except this time it'll be at a road course. Now, as some of you may be aware, Michael was once a Champ Car racer, and he also drove in what I believe to be the Rolex 24 before he came into NASCAR. So I think that experience with road racing is going to play to his advantage this year, especially with the new car. As for what track he wins at, I have him winning at Circuit of the Americas. Why Circuit of the Americas? Because outside of Daytona and a few other starts early in the season, this was where one of his best runs came, running for the lead early in the race, and he ended up finishing 7th when it was all said and done. So, feel free to laugh at me if that doesn't turn out to be right later, but that's what I think. Alright, so my next two predictions are coming from the series that I plan to focus on the most this year, that being the Xfinity Series. I will say that most of my favorite drivers are coming from this series this year, so obviously it's a bit of a natural inclination to focus most of my energy there. Okay, so my first prediction is that Myatt Snider will get Jordan Anderson Racing its first 2 wins in their second full-time Xfinity Series season, and therefore getting himself his second and third career wins. Where is this going to happen, you ask? Well, I have him winning the races at Portland International Raceway and Pocono Raceway. I say this because Myatt has a lot of road course experience from racing in the NASCAR Wheel and Euro Series and obviously racing on road courses in the Xfinity and Truck Series. So I feel like that experience could play to his advantage somewhat down the road.
Incredible ride for the 16, who turns 10, 11, and 12 for the final time. The Dinger has done it again. From the back to the front, A.J. Allmendinger wins the first Xfinity race at Portland International Raceway.
It should have been me, not him! It's not fair!
Well, this sucks.
You know, it's amazing. You are 100% wrong. I mean, nothing you've said has been right.
As for my second pick, and I will admit my bias for this one, I have Dale Earnhardt Jr. finishing inside the top 5 when he makes his one-off start at Martinsville later this year. I think Dale has always done well at the short tracks, and he even has a Cup Series win to his credit there from 2014. And considering how well he's run in his one-off start since his retirement, I think it's almost a given that he's going to do very well. And now to wrap up my 5 predictions for this video, we're going to take a look at the Truck Series. I think the trucks are going to be a bit underappreciated this year, probably because there's a lot of youth coming in and there's a couple old veterans still around to steady the ship, and also a couple schedule changes that could throw the championship wide open. Now, as for my first prediction, I'm going to say everybody's favorite modified driver, Ryan Preece, wins 2 races among the ones he competes in for DGR this year. Now, as for my other prediction, this is kind of a long shot considering how long he's been out of the series, but I have the Onion, Todd Bodine, finishing in the top 10 twice in the 6 races that he enters for Halmar Friesen Racing. Now, I know Todd hasn't raced full-time since his last championship in 2010, but considering he's expressed interest in getting back in a truck for so long now, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out of the gate swinging and nabs a few top 10s, or, hey, maybe even a win.
Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. She was looking kind of dumb with her finger and her thumb and the shape of an L on her forehead.
And that's the end of another prediction review video. I just wanted to give a shout out to Dave the Race Fan and Kettle Run Railfan with this type of video because I mostly did this as a courtesy to them. Now, I don't think that I'm going to do this every single year because doing more than one prediction review video for other people can get tedious when you also have to consider doing reviews of your own predictions, but I still decide to go through with this as a professional courtesy for them. And I hope that you all go over and sub to both Dave the Race Fan and Kettle Run Railfan because they're both really good guys, and I really think they deserve the recognition as well. But anyways, this is MF17. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you stick around for my own prediction results video, which will be coming out soon.